Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for Politically Incorrect Knitters. I'm Deplorable Knitter, and I'm joined, as always, by my fabulous co-host, Ann Pinkava.
Hello.
Hi, Ann.
This episode is sponsored by Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. You can use our code PIKJanuary20 for 20% off your order. And you can get beautiful yarns like this lovely blueberry shade, which is a part of her Psych collection. But this is fingering weight and just absolutely gorgeous. So among many of her lovely offerings, and made in USA. So that's good.
Yes, we love stuff that's made in the USA, so that's excellent. What have you been working on this week?
This week, I've kind of put aside the cable sweater I've been working on. I have the Comfort Fade sweater, and this is going to be a mess because I had to take it apart. But
why?
Okay. Well, here, full sweater. So it is huge and lovely and extra, extra long. So it's kind of difficult to see. But what happened, and here, I'll bring up the other sleeve to kind of show the difference. So I did the cuffs, but I didn't go down needle size. So the cuff is kind of big and chunky. So, and then I had to redo it, but then I did it without, because like with everything else, I didn't like have a proper skein of yarn. I just had bits of homespun or someone else's homespun or this batch or that batch. So, it says, you have your 4 colors and it's like, and, then use these colors for the cuffs. And I'm like, I don't have those colors. I don't have definite things. So I'm trying to do things differently. But yeah, I don't know if, you can tell a bit that this is much more chunky than this one.
Right.
So trying to redo that and get that done all nicely. So hopefully that'll be done together. And then also I'm back to Papa Hat World. So yet another one, but in different yarn this time. I forget. Is it Marlboro? Not sure. Malbrigo. I think it is, but I can't. I tried to find the tag for the yarn and it's somewhere. Anyways, so yeah, just same old in knitting those. But you gotta
do what you gotta do. And I mean, people are buying stuff from you. That's
exactly.
Awesome.
And yeah, and they weren't selling for a while, and I'm still selling them on Etsy. And I'm like, well, this is weird. Well, apparently there was some mess up with the shipping. So the reason that they weren't selling is because they weren't active. I'm like, oh, that's why I got a break. Oops. Yeah. So that's all fixed. And otherwise, the Reclaim Beanie pattern is going to be in blocks when that comes out. And that is pretty much my knitting news.
So I've got this guy that was an order. The God Bless America hat. This is one of our best sellers. Mm-hmm. I think because it's classic and it's not exactly controversial. So people enjoy that because they can be showing how they feel without being like, let's go Brandon, which, not everybody wants to wear on their head, which is another hat I have, but, not everybody wants to wear something quite that out there. So, but yeah, so this is done. It had its bath. It's still damp. It'll ship tomorrow. Speaking of things that are going to ship, I found a couple of t-shirts from when I did the big order, and I have one size left. It is this shirt, the United We Knit, and it's a small. So that's in the Galilee Life store. If you want to get a shirt, this might be your last chance because I don't know. It was a pain to do the pre-order, and unless I find a better vendor for them, I don't think I'm going to keep doing it. So, that's in the shop. The last one, the last of the shirts for sale. So there's that. And then I showed you guys this last week, but this is what's going to be in the Blocked magazine for my pattern contribution. I'm calling it the Blocked Cowl. Kind of makes sense. Kind of like a fence or a squares if you look at it, sideways. So, And I had enough yarn left that I made a little ear warmer to go with it. So I haven't decided how that pattern is going to be distributed. Maybe when you join the new Politically Incorrect Knitters site, once I get that up and running, it'll be there for you waiting. We'll have to see. But that's going to be in Blocked. That's coming out at the end of the month. So you can find it there for free. And then I showed you guys this last week also, but there's more to it now. So, or maybe this was a couple weeks ago. But this is my heart season hat. Has hearts on it, as you can tell. Very cute. Foldy brim. It's going to have an option to make it with a long brim or just like a beanie style short brim. There's going to be a cowl pattern with it.
Oh,
and
fun.
then, so yeah, there's going to be the cowl pattern with it. And then there's going to be different options for the cowl also. So you can have it where it's like this with the 3 different hearts, or this one's kind of funky. I'm kind of in love. This one, that's not quite as obvious, but it's still the heart pattern. And it's just done once, and that's, different height. So that's going on. And so the hat pattern is going to be available in 3 different sizes, and it's going to be with 2 charts and 2 different brim options. So there's a lot in that pattern. And then the cowl is going to come with a couple different charts and a couple different suggestions for making it different heights and things. So check it out. That'll be in my Galley Life store. Yeah, so that's what I have going on. And before we get to the nitty gritty, there's a lot to talk about today. Anna and I never did our Christmas gifts, and we thought that you guys might enjoy seeing what we did for each other. So here's the last part of our Christmas party, at least for now.
That's right.
Would you like to start, Anne?
Sure. Card first, of course. Sorry, card was cute.
I'm glad you like it. I don't remember what it was. It was so long ago.
I don't know what it said.
I'm sure I meant everything I wrote, though.
Here, I'll take that out. But we have some, remember, I'm on camera and not just, talking. But we have some lovely New York maple syrup. Whoa. I'm excited.
Yay.
I do love me some maple syrup. And peppermint covered spoons.
Because they're delicious in almost anything, for real.
Seriously. And some bright red lipstick because, of course.
It's not really red, is it? I thought I got you some calmer colors, no?
Well, there's one that's a little more orangey and one that looks a little brighter. Here.
So I know that we've been wearing a lot of lipstick lately because of the New York thing and everything. But for the longest time, Anna and I have had a commenter that their only comment to us is that we should wear lipstick. Mm-hmm. Like every once in a while, they just pop up and they're like, hey, wear some lipstick. And so I got it for you as a joke. And now you've actually been wearing it.
I know, it's so cute.
That was funny.
As I said, maybe we needed a little lipstick accountability partner in our life. So it all works out. But, ooh. And this is, okay. The 12 T's of Christmas. Oh, that's fun. Here, there we go. And there is even a key on the back. So yeah, that's cool. Got your green teas and Earl Grey and chocolate mint. So that is exciting. Thank you.
I hope they're good.
I hope so too. I'm sure they will be. And then last but not least, ooh, it is a potions yarn and it is Romance of the Forest. So that is very pretty. I really love the golds and purples in there. So thank you. It's very soft.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
You're like, oh, good.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Her yarns are, they're fabulous. So you can't go wrong. But
they're quite lovely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, you put together a good box.
It's so funny because I I mailed my box to Anne the very beginning of November because I was having surgery and I didn't know how I was going to feel. So it's like her opening the box was kind of like exciting for me because I knew what I put in there, but I kind of forgot. So it was like, oh, yay.
I know. I'm sitting here going like, what did I get you? Hang on. Like having a Biden moment. Like, wait, the thing.
Yeah, the
And
thing,
I sent mine much later than yours. So that shows how I am.
My turn?
Your turn.
Cool. Okay. So I got these. Are they for my kids?
They could be. If you want to give
They're
them up.
super cute. Dude, they're totally going to steal them. They're super cute, though. Because although maybe I'll just like, I've been wanting to put something behind me. Like maybe we'll just put a couple friends back there to like watch people as we podcast. Oh, he's too high. There you go. So now I've got some people watching me over my shoulder. Anne, did you spin this?
I did.
It is very pretty. And I use a lot of gray, so that's handy.
I know you do.
Really nice.
Yeah, I don't even remember what. That's terrible of me, but it's a merino blend.
It's nice. I don't mind whatever it is. It's actually really funny. I put it down next to what I'm knitting right now, and they're almost the same.
Right?
Let's see, what's this? Lacto King. I've never heard of this. Milk and butter candy. So that's fabulous. I'm sure the kids will try to steal that too. Oh, and there's the cute little sloth sticker on there because, yes, please.
Exactly.
The Christmas Pig. I have not heard of this. By canceled author J.K. Rowling.
Exactly.
Cool. How fun. Ooh. My brother's a huge fan of hers. I haven't heard him say anything about it. I'll have to ask him. Ooh. I was actually looking for this audiobook the other day. The Real Anthony Fauci. Awesome. Thank you. My stack just got too big. I had it almost down. And then Turkish Delights. I've never had them.
There you go. I like to
fun.
keep them on hand, in case you ever feel like you need to sell out your family members to like some sort of evil witch. But it's good to keep some back and resist temptation.
Okay. I don't know any of that of what you speak, but the kids are learning. They're taking an online class that is doing different continents, and they were talking about Turkish Delights today. So that's kind of fun.
Ooh, that's exciting.
That'll be exciting for us. Thank you, Anne. Very nice. I like everything. I appreciate it. I'm excited.
Yay.
Yay. So Anne and I finally did our Christmas now that it's been, 4 weeks? We're not that late. It's all right.
In January. Might as well.
Yay. Thanks for Christmas, Anne. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for Christmas, too. I'm excited for pancakes.
Now that Anne and I have had a good time, we're going to bring you back to earth with news.
Oh, yes.
And we have a lot to talk about. So I think we're going to kind of do bullet point news like we do sometimes, just to cover the high points and get things out of it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, where do we want to start?
I mean, we can talk about the supply chain. I don't know about you, but I've seen a lot of these pictures of like the trains with the crap all over the tracks, and I didn't know what it was. I never like read the caption, I guess, or whatever. Did you know what it was?
Yeah, that the trains in LA, that whenever there's an opportunity, when they slow down or before they speed up, that people will jump on them, steal the packages, and just rip them open right there. And if there's anything worth stealing, take that. And if not, oh, bummer, shower curtain.
Yeah, they just throw
leave
it out onto the tracks. And it has gotten so bad that Union Pacific, who is the biggest shipping operator in the area, is considering not going through LA anymore. They're trying to figure out ways to not do it, because the DA won't prosecute anybody. These people are getting arrested for burglary, grand theft, different things, and they're getting set free on trespassing charges.
Right.
There's no bail, there's nothing. And so it's wrecking this company's business, and we're not getting supplies. There's like all these Amazon orders and stuff that are getting messed up. But they said that 90% of the containers that go through LA are compromised every day. Wow. 90%.
And you're like, and which ones don't they do? Like, they squeeze it like, it must be a t-shirt.
I don't know.
Like a kid going through Christmas gifts, like, I think this is socks.
And it's really funny because you go on, like, if you were to go onto the LA FBI's page, like on Twitter, they have information about, like, oh, if you have any information on the Capitol riots, here's a link. And then they have a quote from Martin Luther King asking, what are you doing for others? And not a word about any of the shipping stuff. Like, does that make any sense?
Right. Not a word about rampant theft.
Right. Because that's what they want. My husband keeps saying it. And so my husband and I are on the same page, but like, I actually tend to be more moderate than he is, if you can believe it. And he's been saying for like months now, it's because they don't want private businesses. They only want Amazon. They only want, and so they're not prosecuting these people because they want those big stores to close. And I used to be like, dude, you're crazy. And I was starting to go, well, why wouldn't you prosecute people? Like, what I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Exactly.
But yeah, the FBI website is worried about the Capitol riot that wasn't a riot from over a year ago, and not this that's happening right now in the city. Makes perfect sense.
One of the big stories this week was the synagogue in Texas where you had hostages taken, and it was a UK citizen, and he went into the synagogue and took captives and said he wanted the release of Mrs. Al-Qaeda, and then, or Lady Al-Qaeda, like she had one of those like really obvious nicknames, and he was killed. None of the hostages were harmed, so that's good that nobody besides the person threatening violence was injured. But then the FBI came out and said, we're still looking for a motive. Like, what?
I'm pretty sure that the Al-Qaeda traveling to the US to get a gun and then going to the synagogue, it's fairly obvious. Right. I mean, I'm not an FBI agent, but I feel like that's not as hard as they're making it out to be.
Right. It's like, I hate to connect the dots here, but if you're wanting the release of an Islamic terrorist by threatening Jewish people at a synagogue, I think the motive may be Islamic terrorism. Okay.
I think you're making that up. I mean, come on. It's probably got to do with the January 6th.
Probably.
I mean, for real.
He was so emboldened by people who did not carry weapons into a Capitol building that he carried a weapon into a synagogue. And I'm sure that it's all part of a big plot.
Makes perfect sense to me.
That's right.
No, I hate to be like that, but man, some of the stuff is just, yeah, sometimes there's nuance, sometimes there's a reason that things aren't what they seem. I don't know. I'm thinking that when you want terrorist release, they're pretty much telling you what they want. I mean, whatever. But the other thing I wanted to mention about the supply chain issues that we have going on is not just the trains in LA,
Right.
but there's going to be an issue with truck drivers now, because starting on the 22nd, which is Saturday today, right? Today when you're watching this, that truck drivers will be required to have a vaccine to cross between the borders. So if you're a truck driver and you go from New York to Canada, that's a common thing around here. You can get right over the border, Niagara Falls. You can't do it if you're not vaccinated. And so there's going to be issues with that.
And also talk about toilet paper shortages, because a lot of people don't know that the vast majority of our toilet paper comes from Canada, as
good.
Yeah. So.
Well, this article I was reading said that most grocery stores only have a 3-day supply.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we are spoiled, and I don't think that anybody really realizes what would happen if these truck drivers really don't do what they're supposed to do. If they say, no, I'm not getting the jab, and they don't do their job, then we're all screwed.
Right. And it's a very present tense world that we live in, that people don't understand where the things that they're surrounded them comes from. Like, well, if we just lock down and nobody works, I'm sure everything will be fine. Well, it's like, well, what puts, the coffee in your hand, the food in your fridge, shoes on your feet? Where does all of the things in your house come from? And it's like, oh, well, we'll just shut down for everyone's health. It's like, no, keeping the economy going is your health. And it's like, oh, well, these truck drivers, they just don't want people to be healthy. They're just selfish for not getting a shot. It's like, no, it's the government that is implementing these mandates and violating their rights.
Yeah,
and that's the point of it. And also that it's few and far between the people, medical and religious exemptions. Like we said before, that the exemptions for shots should, you need the doctor's note or the pastor's note. I'm sorry, I'm like, but exemptions on principle should just be piece of paper. No, that's all it should be, because trying to try out principle by saying, are you a part of an organized group, is just not the principles on which our country was founded. But
it's not. And so the US is implementing this on the 22nd. Canada started it on Monday, whatever date that was. And what I was reading said that the price of produce from California and Arizona has already gone up 25% because they are already experiencing shortages, because they are already short on drivers.
Right.
So if we do get what we need, it's going to probably be more expensive also.
Right.
Like there's supply and demand. I know they don't teach it anymore, but when I was in school, 100 years ago, we learned about supply and demand, and that's what's going to happen. It's really sad.
And I'm sure this sector is already going gangbusters, but if you're thinking of getting seeds for a garden this year, I would buy it yesterday. It's going to be...
I try to garden every year, and I'm just not, I forget that I'm supposed to care about it. And then all of a sudden, my tomato plants are falling over dead and stuff, and I'm, oops.
I know. I am not a good gardener either. It is not one of my skill sets, but I have a feeling that this is a year a lot of people are going to learn. And that's not necessarily, on one hand, it's definitely good to be more actually self-sustaining, not just, on your plastic package, it says self-sustaining, but actually self-sustaining. But yeah, that it's, and yes, we are spoiled. Yes, we do work on very small margins of error with, like you said, 3 days of grocery stores and stuff. But on the other hand, that you get report, like when Jen Psaki was all like, your treadmill is late. Oh, poor you. I'm like, I'm sorry. The idea that I have a service and you say that your shipping is going to be this time and it isn't, and I paid for something and I want to receive it. And then that's apparently selfish for me to expect things to happen in a timely manner.
Yeah.
You know?
This whole administration, they're build back better. No, they're just lower your expectations. That should be their platform. Lower your expectations. Oh, you're used to having all the groceries you want. Well, get used to only being able to get X, Y, and Z some days. And that's all you got.
Yeah, and just remembering, a story from the Revolutionary War with George Washington, and it was one of the things that really torqued him off was that he ordered something from England. And again, you don't think about this happening in the late 1700s, but this totally happened in the late 1700s, that there was an issue with the order. So again, paper back and forth on ships from England, and there's an issue with it, and he was mad because they clearly did not treat him like an English gentleman, that he was second-class citizen in the colony, and he was ticked. And that is, now we're all George Washington, we're all the second-class citizen of, why do you think that you should have good service and people should respect you? I'm like, I'm sorry, am I not as good a person as anyone else that I should have reasonable expectations?
No, you're not, is the answer.
Oh, well, so, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Move on. Yeah, so did you see, speaking of Biden, yesterday, the day before, a Newsmax reporter straight up asked him if he was senile. The guy was quoting some poll numbers and saying, even in your most devout followers, some of them think that, you're not, I mean, he didn't say you're not quite all there, but that's more or less what he was saying. Mm-hmm. And Biden was like, well, it's up to you what you think. Or like, that was the answer. And it's like, so remember when people said that Trump was senile and he took the cognitive test and he like aced it or got like one wrong or something? Why aren't we demanding that? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I know, and the speech last night, so, okay, I didn't get far, I admit. I was having some real difficulties. Clearly he was having some real difficulties also. Let's not mince words. Starting out when the first part of his achievement is how many people are vaccinated, and that he it was just weird. It's like new math, but weird new math. That only 35 million people not vaccinated, and there's enough doses for 9 million more a week. Sorry, but Biden's speech last night, just full of bizarre stuff. And then this morning, okay, so we're filming on the 20th, and this morning, I mean, the big news is that he's saying, well, Russia, if it's a minor incursion, then, we probably won't do anything. And the Ukrainian prime minister is saying there are no minor incursions. And Biden is out today like, oh yeah, we totally go to war against Russia. I mean, okay, so it's all crap, right? It's all crap. All crap. But that, it's like okay, so of course the president of the United States should have a strong front against Russia when Russia is looking to invade the Ukraine. But also look at how just totally in shambles our military is right now, that we could look, just the shameful withdrawal out of Afghanistan is terrible, and we're going to saber rattle against Russia. And I mean, okay, if Trump was in office, Putin don't play, okay, because he'd drone strike people and it'd be bad. But it's, that the show of power, no, we're doing it my way, and Biden is just rambling and about how there's so many more jobs now under him, and that kids are out of poverty because of him, and vaccination, record economic growth actually left his lips. And sometimes
I just wonder, where do they get these things from? Like, how people can read, people can see the, on my news, I don't know if they do this everywhere, but they do the stock market and they do local stocks and things, and they've got big green arrows or big red arrows next to them. You know what? I was walking through, my husband was watching this, I wasn't even watching it, and every arrow was red. And I'm like, anyway, you were on saying something else.
Right. And even like little things like he's like, and there were no at-home COVID tests a year ago, but now you can get them for free. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Hi, I had the vid last December and I was able to take a test at home. Hi. Just simple, stupid stuff. That is a lie. As well as massive stuff like everything is fine and I'm the best.
So a minute ago, you were talking about how you couldn't get through his speech. I didn't watch it, but my dad and I were on the phone this morning, and he was telling me that he hasn't really watched many of his speeches either. And he goes, dude, I was watching him, and it felt like I was watching somebody with Sundowners. Why don't they ever have him on primetime? Why don't they? It's because he can't do it. And like, I don't understand how people don't understand. Just don't get it. Sorry.
I know. And I saw other clips of, like they had highlight reels too. So I didn't like totally.
Well, I've seen them, but
no, but it was seriously, it was like serious, and he's stuttering and his words are wrong. And this is at the beginning of the speech. And yeah, it's and okay, another phrase, which was so crazy. Again, I had to write it down. And maybe that's, why I had issues, but it's like, that we're now looking to a point where COVID-19 won't be a crisis, but something to protect against and a threat.
So how does that work exactly, Joe?
Not a crisis, but a threat. That's, you're threading a needle there. That's mighty fine. But yeah, I mean, and other stuff too. He actually referred to Russia as Mother Russia in the speech.
No, he didn't.
He did. And then somebody said, hey, actually said Mother Russia. And I mean, it's kind of outrageous to me anyways, that he's like, oh yeah, well, you could invade the Ukraine. That's cool. And it's like, have you talked? It's like, wow. This is really where our breakdown of foreign policy happens. After his son Hunter got an energy job in the Ukraine with 10% for the big guy, and you're just gonna give up Ukraine like that? Well, how can anybody trust you if bribery doesn't even help? Like, how? This is an issue. I mean, this is like multiple layers of an issue, but this is an issue.
Yeah. No, this is the whole thing is messed up. So he's saying that COVID's not a crisis, but it's a threat, and that leads really well into something else that we need to talk about.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah. What about our friend Boris Johnson, who I don't know how you feel about him. Biden said what? It's not critical, but it's still a threat. And on the other hand, we've got Boris Johnson, who just struck down every vaccine passport, mask mandate, everything that was going on, and said that, yeah, we're going to have to keep dealing with COVID because it's a thing, but it's not a pandemic anymore. And that is due to Omicron and the fact that, it's not so severe, and, variants may pop up and it may become an issue, but go back to life. And he's not the only person that said it. Israel said it, and there were 2 other countries I didn't write down, but
I think the Danes said it. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, but the narrative is changing.
It is. And well, Boris Johnson in particular, I mean, he just, so all the stuff that's been going on in England this past week has been insane. Because, so this is right after there's a huge controversy of all of these Downing Street parties. Apparently they sent an intern to a liquor store to fill a suitcase full of cheap booze and then bring it back for a BYOB party at Downing Street.
That's funny, but can I just say one thing before we get into the whole deal? They're talking about something that happened in May of 2020. Mm-hmm. Did they really just find out about it, or are they mad at him for something else?
No, I think they held on to it, that they're trying to destroy him at this moment, and especially since one of the big parties was the night before Prince Philip's funeral. So there's pictures of the next day, the Queen sitting alone at her husband's funeral. and that, the night before Downing Street was partying it up. So yes, so they're definitely trying to destroy Boris Johnson right now, which is definitely notable. But and before attaching that in, also this week, there was a Chinese spy outed for, let's see, her name is Christine Lee, that she gave the Labour Party £700,000. Yeah.
Now, who's the Labour Party again?
The Labour Party would be Democrat Party equivalent.
Okay, thank you. And Boris Johnson is not Labour Party, correct?
No, he's conservative, but about as conservative as Mitt Romney.
Right, okay.
Right.
I always get confused though, because what they say and what they aren't always the same, and then I'm totally confused. So
right, right. But general party affiliations, it would be that way. But 500,000 of that went to a guy named Barry Gardner over a 6-year period. But also he employed Christine Lee's son in his office, so he's had full access to the House of Commons all this time. And MI5 this week is like, yeah, you should just telling you. And he's all like, oh, but we've known about their Chinese connections before, and they never said it was a problem before. And I've said things about China. I'm not a Chinese shill. It's like, all that money is talking differently. But Christine Lee, she has a charity called the British Chinese Project, for outreach and goodwill, the human fund for people. And we're just going to give you like hundreds of thousands of pounds, and it's going to be for nothing. Okay. Like, it's just for happy, fun, good times. There's no potential reason where we would be giving you all of this money. But yeah, so that happened this week. Also, that that this is a specifically Labour Party issue. Well, I guess technically he worked for Blair before he worked for Jeremy Corbyn, but Blair's not really, he's not proper conservative either. So Blair is on the take of Chinese money right now. And every time anyone says we should not do that, you shouldn't do lockdown or not have forced vaccination, he comes out looking more like Gollum every day and saying, no, this is terrible. And yeah, so that's a huge mess. Yeah, so all of that is happening right now too. And just again, no one's saying that, not that it is only Labor, just like in America, it's not only Democrat, but you see, I mean, after all, we have issues with Chinese money and Mitch McConnell, but it does seem to be more prevalent among the Dianne Feinsteins of the country. So,
or Swalwell,
yes,
who happened to have a relationship with the spy. So, whatever.
Yes.
But see, that's the thing. And I was just thinking this while you're talking, like the Boris Johnson thing and the parties. Yeah, maybe they weren't the right thing to do, but it reminds me of like, I mean, Pelosi in the salon without her mask on, making everybody wear it, or Newsom having his parties and the restaurants that nobody can afford. And
yeah, Latoya the Destroyer, the mayor of New Orleans, is that she's throwing these big parties, but Mardi Gras canceled when it's a huge tourism industry in New Orleans.
Even Obama and his giant birthday party.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the example of, if you're not on the correct side, you're in trouble. But hey, all these other people, we don't care. It's fine. We'll never call for them to resign or whatever. And it's nonsense, dude.
Yeah. And that's what the big debate is right now in the UK with Boris Johnson, is because it's like, oh, well, Boris is a horrible hypocrite and he does all these things. Yeah, but our other option is, well, what if there's some sort of a contest for power and Keir Starmer is in charge, and his whole thing is, yeah, Boris Johnson wasn't hard enough. Let's lock down harder. And so it's like, so you don't want that either. And and Boris Johnson has just been doing stupid crap, just stupid with the environment and more money for everyone. And just like we have problems here with inflation because of all of the printing money and all of the free money and all these issues, the same problem is in England. And all of this is, and Boris, let him ever go down in history as the guy who gave the people what he wanted, but only as a last resort to get what he wanted. Because how did he get into office? Get Brexit done. He was the only guy who said, let's get Brexit done, who was a major candidate. I mean, of course, Nigel Farage and the rest of them did too. But he said, get Brexit done. People said, yes, he's our guy, vote him in. Okay, and now he's having real issues and people are saying oust him, and he says, oh, okay, and by the way, mask fines are gone and no more lockdowns and now everything's happy. And it's like, oh wow, I guess what the people want is actual conservatism, like real conservatism.
But it's also funny to me that he's in the situation where they're calling for him to be ousted, and now all of a sudden it's safe for this stuff.
Yeah,
like it just goes to show you that it's all self-serving anyway.
Right.
If these were truly necessary measures, he wouldn't be able to just say, oh, well, we're done with it. The science says it's fine. And but what is that going to mean for us now that the science is saying that? That's what I want to know.
Right. And that the science versus actual science. Science has been saying for a long time, the science is, you still find people with the science who are, following the same regimen of stupidity that does not work and does not stop COVID.
Yeah. But so while I was looking at what England was doing, I came across an article, and I just want to share a couple of facts about how stark of a difference it is between what England is going to be and what New York is, because those are my frame of reference. I know that not everybody watching is in New York, and a lot of you guys are in freer states, which is fantastic for you. So here in New York, schools and daycares require that children 2 years and older wear a mask at all times unless they're eating or napping. Okay? But when they're eating or napping, the COVID can't get them. So important. They have booster mandates for all the healthcare workers and for SUNY students. SUNY is State University of New York. So any of the state schools, you have to have a booster as well as your shots to attend. And even though we have all these crazy rules, we have one of the highest COVID rates in the state. We're the sixth highest death rate in the country. Even though we are so, and we're second for job loss.
Oh, good.
I wonder who's ahead of us. I didn't look at that. And since COVID started, we've lost 30% of our small businesses in New York. And then the last thing,
the amount of robberies. So that's a separate point.
That is true. 95% of New York adults have been vaccinated, though, which I read that and I was like, there's no way, because like I can list dozens and dozens of people that I know that are not vaccinated, but I'm sure that there are pockets like that around, and it's the people I hang out with. So
that's true. On the other hand, sometimes I got to really wonder about those numbers, but whatever. At least 95% of New Yorkers have received at least one dose of the vaccine. So they may not be considered fully vaccinated, but they've received at least one shot. So we are one of the strictest ones. We have indoor mask mandates. We have, there's not freedom in New York, not really. And it's not doing anything for us. And it's just like, when are they going to figure it out for real? Right.
It's power grab.
Well, and to divert a little back to international news with the tennis player, gonna get this right, Djokovic, number one tennis player in the world, not allowed in Australia. So they had his visa. He did absolutely everything he could. He got exemptions. He got doctor's paperwork. The guy is on a very particular diet and has very particular medical issues. So he got his exemptions. Everything is fine. got the visa in. They, Snap did his trial at like weird hours of the day, like couldn't contact anyone out. And yeah, so all of this just horrible form of justice, but got it repealed. His visa's good. All right, he's playing. No, that they took him out again because that they actually said, and there was a little bit of a claim at the time that he had lied on his form, which he didn't. But it's like, oh, well, wait, we found out he lied. Anyways, but he was deported, that the technicality that they got him for, that he could, because he is famous and unvaccinated, that he might give people someone to rally around to either stay unvaccinated or deter people from getting their booster shot. That he was taken out on grounds of health and good order. He was deported and not allowed to return for 3 years. I don't even know that he said anything direct about the situation, but just did not want to disclose health records. But just imagine this, just that the government's line is that you should get vaccinated, and that's enough to deport anybody. I mean, imagine 10 years ago, if there was a famous sports player who came into America and we deported him for disagreeing with the Iraq War. Something like that, some big American policy thing that we're doing, and it's like he's like, no, I don't think you should do it. And we're like, deported. We don't want people to go out and say that there shouldn't be a war or something. But vaccination is such a strict, outrageous standard that people might look at you and say, yeah, good for you. I don't want to be vaccinated either. And that might create some sort of an issue of public order and health. Is just outrageous.
It shows how desperate they are to keep the narrative, to keep people believing what they're trying to feed them. And if you go against it, they don't know what to do with you. And they're going to get rid of you however they can, because you're wrecking this mirage that they're trying to put on you. So the Olympics are coming up, and we saw something on the news about how it's going on shortly. I don't know when it starts, but my husband's like, we're not going to watch that, right? And I'm like, yeah, I know. I always love the Winter Olympics.
That's the thing too, because the thing is that I love. Look, man. I love patriotic knits. I love country knits. I love rah rah rah. Let's go America, and Commonwealth, and cheer for the good guys, boo for the commies, great old time. Okay, I am here for that. But and not to mention that the quality of the coverage has gone down exponentially.
Well, there's always that, but so I think that they said that they're gonna censure China for their treatment of the Uyghurs or something, or they're gonna have a moment of silence or something ridiculous that does not do a single thing.
No, it's a diplomatic boycott, but not a boycott of the players. And that NBC isn't sending their commentators there directly, for the health risk, because there's still different bizarre health strains in China right now. It's like, but we're sending the players. And okay, and also I've heard this argued, and this is a fair point. So I get it, that it's like, well, we still sent our players during the era of Soviet Russia, we still sent our players to them and they still played, and we got to sort of fight the battle that way. Yes.
So I've mentioned it before, but I haven't always followed politics. Was there any sort of genocide going on in the Soviet Union?
A bit.
A bit. Okay.
They were starving
Okay.
people and, killing political dissenters. I don't know that forced organ harvesting was hot on the market, but
And sometimes you just have a way with words.
well, anyways, China is horrible. Screw them. Also,
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like anything that used to like be fun or bring joy is you just can't enjoy anymore because everything is political. And like, I wasn't going to bring this up, but I went into Joann Fabrics this weekend. I need to get some yarn for my next co-op classes. I was going to go in and check the clearance bin because I figured why not? I mean,
yeah.
it's cheaper. I have to charge the students to take my classes. So if I can get it cheaper, then whoopee, everybody wins. And I had to leave because I wasn't wearing a mask. All I wanted to do after church was go into the store, look around. I had my kids with me. I had my parents with me. And I did not handle it gracefully. But like we're in this situation now where everything has to be a freaking fight. And it's just, I think people are over it, which is how they do it. Sorry about my rant, but that's how it works.
Right.
Break you down.
No, and that's the thing too. And I mean, in England as well, that it's like, well, because they're about to oust Boris Johnson and people are sick and tired of everything. And I don't know, like, how do these things stop when the people say, we're done here?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, it's kind of an old phrase that, by old phrase, I mean, Mark Stein said it. So, he's probably been saying it for a while. But that it's not necessary. You want the best people you can in office, but it's more important to make sure that the person in office know that the people that he is representing will hold him accountable for what he or she does. That the people are angry enough that there's going to be real consequences, ballot box, everything for whoever is in office. And, that we have Glenn Youngkin in Virginia this week. And people were saying like, oh, well, he's not really conservative. He's just kind of moderate, whatever. He's on the take. He's this, he's that. He came into office. He has a clear mandate from the people in office, and he didn't do a light, fluffy speech when he was sworn in. He's like, okay, I'm here. I'm going to do this, this, and this. We're going to, get rid of CRT. We're going to, down the line had his agenda. Okay. And fired a lot of people, cleaned house. All right, let's get started. And that is from people who are like, we're mad, we're here, and we want things to change. It's like, okay, you voted me in to change things, and I'll change them. And yeah, that it's a very kind of encouraging thing that way, that no, it's like, we put you in for a reason, do your job, and says, all right, I'll do it.
Yeah, but I think that that's the problem, is that we don't hold people accountable anymore. And I heard that they were trying to get Pelosi to make it so she can't trade anymore. Like, she needs to be held accountable because she's made like $1 bajillion. You know, they're the ones who are denouncing capitalism, and here they are making oodles of money.
Yeah, Pelosi and her insider trading, and she's making all of this money with social media companies, and yet she's the one who's supposed to be overseeing social media companies. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem quite right to me. And I think that people need to start getting pissed off about all of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tell NBC that you don't agree with, I mean, we shouldn't even be sending our people to the Olympics, for real. I don't know why they're in China. China is responsible for COVID. I know I'm going to get in trouble for saying it, but, you know, China, the China virus. But
it's like, and it's
like, gotta be said.
From the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And even if you want to say, no, bat from the wet market, China still blocked flights within China from that area of Wuhan. and then allowed those flights to go internationally. So even if you want to say it's an accident, they did not guard other people from this virus.
Yeah, exactly. And man, I'm just gonna start getting mad now. But I hope my unelected governor is up for election this year. And I was telling somebody, oh, well, you know, she's not elected now, but by 2022, by the end of the year, she'll be elected, because people aren't smart enough to figure it out. We have to start like standing our ground. We have to start, because this whole thing is ridiculous. We should be doing what England is doing. I mean, for real, I can't go into the library with my kids without a mask on. And we have people, the head doctor of CNN, saying that you can't wear cloth masks anymore. Well, let me tell you something. If I have to go into a place wearing an N95, I will never go there again. Mm-hmm. Like, it's ridiculous. I don't know what they think they're doing. We have to start being angry all the time, even though it's exhausting.
It is exhausting. And that is part of the whole thing with politics, that people are like, oh, well, I don't want to pay attention. It's like you don't want to pay attention to politics. You just want to live your life, do your work, do actual you things. You don't have to pay attention to it. It's like, well, that is a luxury, really. Because while we're like, oh, we don't want to pay attention to politics, politics wants to pay attention to you. And it is interfering with every portion of our life that you can't ignore it.
Mm-hmm. It is, for real. And it's a big deal. I mean, and I know that I'm living it a little bit differently than a lot of people, because it is so restrictive here, but it is just, you got to be courageous even though you don't want to. Look, I hate going into places without a mask on, because I hate having to talk to the people about why I'm not wearing a mask. But like with my experience at Joy on Fabrics this weekend, the girl said, where's your mask? We said, we don't have any. She said, you can't shop. She said, well, here, I have masks for you. I said, we don't want masks. And she said, you can't shop here if you don't have masks. So that's the only way people are going to start learning. Either, you know, we're going to be like the truck drivers who are just going to stop working, and then people are going to not have things, and it's going to hurt our country. And then finally somebody's going to say, hey, maybe we should like give in. Or we're just going to all be little sheeple for the rest of our lives with our masks on and our 800 boosters and the pills we have to take every day. And
yeah, and
I'm tired.
No, totally. And okay, so I'm in non-mandated mask world, but there's a lady this week, and she was clearly irate that the store so opposite problem, but also bizarre, because there's no mask mandate in this store. And talking to the lady at the counter without a mask and saying how irate she was that there should be a sign on the door that there should be a mask mandate in this store because someone had sneezed. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is, and it's like, so yeah, the mask mandates and everything is crazy, but it is also, it's really strange to me, the people who still believe it after all this time. And not that COVID isn't dangerous or isn't really rough on some people, that people don't get it badly, but the attachment to well, like you said, that, you know, New York State has some of the harshest regulations and the highest COVID rates at the same time, that they have high vaccination rate, that you have to mask, and it's not stopping the spread.
Yeah. I think people are scared, and I think that the media and the politicians have done a really good job of terrifying everybody on earth. But at some point in time, if you want to live, you're gonna have to say, and God, that's another thing we didn't even touch on, but a lot of the liberal knitters were really upset about the fact that they said Omicron is very survivable for most people, but then all these people were like, oh, so it's like eugenics, you're trying to kill people that have morbidities and stuff. No, we need to start living life. I don't want anyone to have a COVID. I don't want anyone to get hurt by it. My mother is a good example of somebody who she has an autoimmune disease. She has type 2 diabetes. She is a higher risk person for COVID. You know what? She's standing next to me without a mask on because she believes, not so much for herself, but, you know, I'm raising kids. She doesn't want this world for the rest of the generation. And so you have to be brave. You know, you could get sick with it. You could not get sick with it. It's hard to say, but how can you possibly live terrified every day of your life? That's got to be horrible. And what's it doing for you? It's taking years off of your life anyway. It's,
well,
you can't
I mean,
win.
Like we said at the beginning of this, you know, what are two of the, you know, biggest things on your health? Stress and loneliness.
Yeah.
Are major factors to people's health, and that things like lockdowns and masks and, you know, remote schooling are not zero-sum things. Well, if you could save one life, it's not saving lives, because fentanyl deaths are through the roof. Suicide death, especially in young kids, is really high right now. That we have all of these issues compounded that we didn't have before. I mean, I was watching a report yesterday of homelessness in big cities such as Seattle and Los Angeles, where they have they're called something like, you know, overdose prevention centers. So basically, you go there to shoot up, and someone is watching you. It's like, well, you do drugs, but, you know, if you go too far, we'll come in and, you know, do some sort of medical rescue.
I don't know if they're opening some in the city near me or if they're opening some in New York City, but that's something that's coming here also.
Right.
It's a thing.
And right. And then, yeah. And, you know, getting new apartment, I think this is in Seattle also, but new apartment buildings for homeless people, that people are being housed at public expense, and there's no incentive at all to say, like, okay, so we're going, sorry, this just reminds me of you know, sorry, but Iron Man 3, it's like, oh man, I was on the street and I was an out of work actor and things were terrible for me, and then these people came to me and they said they'd give me a job and they'd give me money and they'd get you off the drugs. No, they'd give me more. And I feel like this is what it is, that it's, you know, like, well, we'll give you a healthy and safe way to shoot up, so, you know, you don't overdose, and we'll give you an apartment. It's like, oh, so are you going to, like, have a rehabilitation center, anything like that, you know, like any sort of sober up program? No, you could just stay here forever. And it's like, that's not going to increase more of the same problem. Like, you, oh gosh.
Don't you think that people are easier to manipulate if you have them in those situations?
I know. And
if you owe the government for your housing or for keeping you alive, or, you know, you're going to be a better sheeple.
Yeah. And then, I mean, if all you know is taking everything at the hand of the government, how do you get out of that? I mean, it's not as if it's impossible for you to get out of that, but it is so difficult. And it is, I mean, literally it's feeding an addiction, and not just a drug addiction, but well, what do I do without it? Free money addiction.
No, it's just really sad. Everything that's going on is just sad. And I think about, like, just sad. That's what I got.
It is. It's rough. I mean, you know, it does seem to a certain extent that, I mean, even sort of mainstream liberal news sources are kind of knocking Biden. I don't know if that actually helps anything, because I'm sure they've got something new and fun planned. It's not as if they're going to let the country go conservative.
Yeah, right. No, but they must have a new something that they're gonna push on us. I mean, that's the way they operate. So
for all that, you know, England being mask mandate free, and That's good stuff.
Yeah. And I forgot to tell you guys, this is just a little random. I was happily listening to one of my audiobooks this week, and guess what happened? All of a sudden, they were pushing the LGBT alphabet soup narrative, and the main character was a Latino woman, and all of a sudden we had to be talking about how oppressed she was, and this happened like 3/4 of the way through the book. So I finished it because I was into the story at that point in time. But if you don't like having that sprung on you, then make sure you check out Cody Schlegel's Odyssey Tale, because he doesn't do that to you. He is telling you a story. It is a good story. It has got engaging characters, and there's no agenda. And so you won't be disappointed when you're 3/4 of the way through the story and have to decide whether or not you want to finish it. So yeah, I've been recording the books I've been reading on Instagram. So if you want to see what I think of things, there's a highlight on my profile, and you can see what I've been reading. And I just thought it'd be fun to share with you guys, because I've gotten a lot of recommendations from followers. And so I figured I'd, show you that I love to read like stupid humor romances that what's going to happen, but they're still fun. And
They are.
I just finished a historical fiction book, which was also a lot of fun. So, oh no, not historical. It was a nonfiction book. It was very interesting. It was about a ton of stuff I didn't know. So yeah, so I'm sharing that. And if you're tired of woke books, make sure you check out Cody Schlegel, Odyssey Tale.
Yep, I have a couple of copies of that coming in the mail soon, so I'm gonna be doing a giveaway. It'll be exciting.
I know. I think that giveaway is gonna probably fall right about the first of the year, right? I mean, not the first of the year.
Hang on.
Around the 1st of February, right, Anne?
Right.
You knew what I meant. Stop it.
It's all right. Sometimes still can't believe it's 2022.
I know, right? I was writing the date on my kids' schoolwork, and I think it was like the 12th, 1/12/22. I could not write it. I just kept writing like 1/12/12, and I had no idea what I was doing. It was terrible. But
oh well.
What are you gonna do? It's life. So yeah. So check out Cody, and then don't forget to check out our fabulous Chicken Lady Fiber Arts. She has fabulous colors, and she's great to work with if you have questions or you have a color that you need that you don't see.
Right. She is very happy to do custom orders too. And she did a new colorway, very Perry Paisley, I believe. Just this most lovely like lilac color. And yeah,
I forgot. I couldn't find it because it was behind the cow. But this is actually a colorway that I had her do for me. Don't remember what it was called, but I was last year when I was designing my dancing diamonds beanie. I wanted a really, really vibrant purple, and she didn't have anything that I wanted in her shop. And so we worked together, and she sent me pictures, and the first go wasn't quite what I wanted. And so she really worked with me until it turned out perfect. And it is so pretty. I still have half a skein left that I need to do something with. So Chicken Lady, PIK January 20 will give you 20% off your order. And if you need something that she doesn't have, just talk to her, because she's good like that. So
yep. And also that promo code does run out the end of January. We will have a new February code, but just so you know.
Yes, just so you know.
So you're not looking at your cart like, oh no, what was that again?
Yep. So, and I think that we have talked about way more than enough today. We've gone over time and
all over the world.
I know, it's too much to say, but guys, thanks for joining us.
Check us out on YouTube and Rumble, which is where our podcasts are, and which you're watching this on one or the other. But if you're watching us on one, follow us on the other, especially if the other happens to be Rumble, because we never know when YouTube will decide not to like us anymore.
Yeah, and we've been talking about stuff that they're not big fans of, so just in case. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you guys next week. And I hope you guys have a really fabulous week.
Yep,
I
definitely.
said fabulous way too many times in the last like minute and a half.
That's all right. But yeah, check us out. Links are below for our different social medias, and we'll see you then.
All right, bye guys.
Bye.